Hey everyone, Dan from FB Geeks here, and today I'll be reviewing a pen that needs no introduction, the Montblanc 149. This year, Montblanc is celebrating 90 years of Meisterstück by releasing a special edition 149 with rose gold trim and a solid rose gold nib, and it's the pen featured in this video. The Meisterstück line was created in 1924 and represented the best that Montblanc had to offer. The 149 was introduced almost 30 years later in 1952 and has become the brand's flagship pen, the largest and most expensive of the regular production pens. So let's see how good it really is. Montblanc North America was kind enough to send me this 90th anniversary 149 to review, but unfortunately it didn't come in the retail packaging. Instead, I got what you see here. The retail packaging will actually look more like this, with a more stylish outer sleeve and Meisterstück 4810 stamped into the top in rose gold colored foil. Removing the outer cover will expose the clamshell style box and information booklet. Even for the standard 149, this packaging is simple, with not much difference to the anniversary edition. In all honesty, I was a little disappointed with the presentation of this pen, especially for the 90th anniversary edition. For nearly $1,000, I just expected a lot more. However, I'm not at all disappointed with the 149 styling. It's a classic cigar-shaped pen that tapers at each end and is just dripping with pure elegance. The design has remained relatively unchanged since it was first introduced in the early 1950s, when the two thin cap bands were made from silver instead of gold. The clip is simple and unadorned, with a small rib that comes about a third of the way down the clip. And of course, like every Montblanc, the round white star sits atop the cap, representing the snow-covered peak of Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in Europe. I found the color of the rose gold plating on this pen difficult to capture, but hopefully you can see the difference with it sitting next to a standard 149. The rose coloring is very subtle, and on its own, in poor lighting, I couldn't tell which version it was until I looked at the nib. The clip is very much function over form. On the underside is engraved "Made in Germany," and you'll find the serial number lasered onto the clip ring that's coming into view right about now. There's good tension in the clip, and it does its job very well. The cap band is about as classy as they come. Stretching around the circumference is Montblanc Meisterstück No. 149. If you look closely inside the letters, you'll see diagonal lines that add contrast to the cap band, helping the letters to stand out and make them easier to read. A very nice detail. The 149 uses a threaded cap system and requires less than 2 revolutions to remove the cap. As you do so, you'll expose the ink window integrated into the barrel, and we can finally get a look at that special 90th anniversary nib. The nib is made from solid 18-karat rose gold and prominently displays the number 90 with a textured interior to help it stand out from the rest of the nib. Nib sizes are limited to extra fine through broad, but should suffice for most users. Next to a standard 149 nib, you can see the slight difference in design, where the 4810 was moved above the breather hole and the M inside the rounded star was lowered to make room for the 90. It's no secret the 149 is a large pen. If you've watched any of my other reviews, then you've seen how it sizes up to a number of other pens. It's almost always the big dog of the group. Here we have, from left to right, the Pelikan M200, the Pelikan M805, the Pelikan M1000, the 149, the Omas Milord, the Visconti Homo sapiens, and the Pilot Falcon. Take a second here to note how well the rose gold is represented in this shot. It actually looks quite beautiful, and I wouldn't mind seeing it appear on more pens. Uncapped, there's not a lot of pens that can go toe-to-toe with the 149. That massive number 9 nib just hides so many others in its shadow. The M1000 is really about the only nib that can measure up. Here's a bit of trivia for you. The third digit of the pen's numerical representation denotes the size of the nib. So the 146, for example, would use the smaller number 6 nib, and so on for the 144 and 142. Posted, the 149 remains very usable. It's shorter than a few of the other oversized pens here, and is about the same length as the M805. In the hand, the 149 is exceptional. To me, very few other pens can match its comfort. Of course, if you don't like oversized pens, then you'll probably hate the 149, but I just can't get enough of it, and if it's not big enough for you, then you can always post it. Now, the cap does sit down on the barrel and attaches very securely. I've never had an issue with it wiggling or moving. Posting does change the balance a little bit, but not for the worse. I use it posted just as often as I don't. The second digit in the pin's 3-digit numerical name denotes the filling system. You can probably think of several examples that don't fit that naming convention, like the 142 or 144. Those sure aren't piston fillers. And today, the numerical system doesn't really mean anything. It's more of a marketing ploy than anything else. The system has changed several times over the years, and for more details, please visit the link in the video description. Montblanc's pistons are very well made, and I've never been disappointed by one of them. I find them to be smooth, with a fair amount of resistance that lets you know you're actually operating something inside the barrel instead of just spinning a knob. And ink capacity is a generous 1.7 milliliters. Not bad at all. My review unit came with a medium nib that seems true to size and lays down a 0.6mm wide line. Out of the box, flow was slightly on the wet side, and I think many users would be very happy with it. Flow was always consistent, and I never experienced any skips. Just like every other Montblanc nib I've ever used, this one was absolutely buttery smooth. Sometimes that smoothness can be taken too far. We've seen it on a number of high-end pens I've reviewed, and when that happens, you experience the dreaded hard start. Thankfully, as you can see, that was never an issue with this pen. The nib has a wonderful feel to it. Part of it comes from how soft or springy it is. It's nowhere near flexible, but for those heavy-handed users, you'll be glad there's a little give to this nib. I've always enjoyed writing with the 149. I bought one early on in my collecting journey, and after a couple years with it, I traded it to a friend. Now, I never regretted that trade, but I did miss it. Now I own two and have used dozens of others, and swore that one will always remain in my collection. I can honestly say I've never had a bad experience with a 149. So that's the 149, an icon in the pen industry. It sets the bar for which every other pen is measured, and it sets it high and has a price tag to match. The standard 149 sells for $935, while the 90th anniversary edition sells for $960. Now, I was a little surprised by that and thought it would sell for several $100s more. Either way, is it worth it? I think a lot of that depends on your budget. Now, I would never buy one brand new because I know I can get them used for $300 to $400. The premium for a brand new pen just isn't worth it to me. Now, the 90th anniversary edition is a little bit different. Used ones haven't hit the secondary market yet, and when they do, I'm guessing they'll carry a bit of a premium. My recommendation is this: if you can afford it, pick up a used one. It's a serious writing instrument made by a company with a long history manufacturing quality pens. I'm curious to hear your take on the 149. Leave a comment and let me know.